Hey folks, Serdar here. In this episode of Dev with Serdar, we're going to take a look at Python's logging mechanisms. A common need when you write programs in any language is to be able to write status messages to the console or to a file or to some other source like a database. Python has a built-in module called logging for this purpose. It can be used for quick and dirty feedback to the console, or you can use it to build more sophisticated logging mechanisms. Let's start with a basic example. When we want to do some simple logging to the console or to a file, all we need is two lines. First, import logging, which I have here imported as log for brevity, and then the basic config function, which lets us set up logging in a number of common ways with a simple declaration. Now, Python's logging system uses a common concept in logging generally, log levels. When you give a log message, it can be one of several levels, debug being the lowest, followed by info, warning, error, critical, and fatal. Now, normally when you're logging, only warning and above are actually emitted anywhere. But you can set the level of logs that you want to emit before you start logging. For instance, if your program takes some kind of configuration option for how verbose the logging should be. For this example, I'm going to set the default level to info, and so the first message generated will be a note that the program is now running. Now in this next block of code, we're going to try to determine if a configuration file exists. And if it doesn't exist, we're going to warn the user by emitting a message. If it does exist, then we log an informational message about which file it is. Next up, we have a similar test, but this time we're going to raise an error rather than a warning. Now the difference between a warning and an error in logging is generally about severity. A warning is an indication of a potential problem. An error is an actual problem that means the program has not been able to do some specific thing. But generally in both cases, the program can continue to run. Now finally, we're going to force an error condition that raises an exception and then handles it. And when we use log's exception method, we can log the last exception that was just handled. We don't have to specify it directly. Exceptions are logged with the error level, so we could at this point close the program, or we could continue working, but the point is that we can write this exception information to a log and refer back to it later if we need to. Let's run this example. As you can see, we have all of our logging messages from info through to exception logged to the console. Now, if I comment out the config line and go with the default configuration, the default log level is now going to be warning. So if we run this code again, we only see warning messages and higher. Okay, now what if we want to write our logs to a file? Because logging everything to the console isn't always the most useful thing. Well, all we have to do is modify our basic config line and provide a file name. Plus, we have another option. We can specify we use a fresh log file for every run, and then we can use this version of the command for that. Or if we want to open a log and append to it on every run, so we keep the results of every single run, we can use this version of the line. So if we use this version and we run this file multiple times with logs appending, as you can see, we now have a log file that has the result of multiple runs all appended into it. Now, I've only scratched the surface of what is possible with Python logging. For instance, in a future exercise, I could create a custom log handler that does things like write to a database or to an API endpoint. But this quick tour should make it clear how easy it is to get up and running with basic logging behavior in Python. So that's it for this episode. If you liked it, leave a comment below, and don't forget to follow Dev with Serdar and InfoWorld on Facebook, YouTube, and InfoWorld.com.